Now, what I want to do is actually concentrate on three words: call to action. And there are so many business owners, both online and offline, who don't use terminology that I would, I guess, label call to action. They put their logos on the back of the local little netball team, or they put a branding advertisement online via Facebook, or they do a branding advertisement via newspaper or radio or TV. But the fact of the matter is that there is no measurability to it because they don't put a call to action. And if you've hung around my environment for a while, you'll probably go, well, duh, JD, you go on about that all the time. So yeah, look, I'm across that. But there are a number of people who have only been exposed to me for a short period of time who probably haven't heard my hobby horse. And my hobby horse is that there is absolutely little value in doing advertising that is just brand building. People say to me, oh, but look, build the church and they will come. In other words, build the brand and they will come. And there is validity to that. Of course there is. Kellogg's have spent a lot of money over the years to build their brand, and so has Toyota, and so has BMW, and so has Palazzo Versace, and so has Omo dishwashing liquid and Colgate Palmolive and all those sorts of companies. But they've spent like a gazillion dollars after a gazillion dollars to build that brand over 5 or 10 or 20 or 30 years. So eventually it's ingrained into our psyche that we walk down the supermarket aisle and we'll pick out Kellogg's, or we decide to buy a car and we think of BMW. I understand that. And, there's no question that I'm influenced by brands just as much as anyone else. But for the most part, SMEs, small to medium-sized enterprises, don't have that sort of budget. They don't have the longevity of that sort of budget to build the brand and eventually sell stuff. So really what I would suggest to you is that you go down the path of using my direct response mentality and adding with that brand building. And just recently, we went to a huge, big soccer game at the Melbourne cricket ground. And this soccer game was between, Argentina and Brazil, I think it was. And they had 96,000 people at the Melbourne cricket ground. And it was just a fantastic atmosphere, great atmosphere. But let me bring up a slide and show you what some crazy companies who are suffering from dickheaditis were actually doing. Have a look at the signage around the soccer field here. You'll see that it was Chevrolet, and they're saying find new roads. Well, oh my goodness, I don't know, I can't see it. I'm afraid my eyesight is not as good as it should have been, but I can't see the actual signage that's closer to the actual crowd. But certainly the one closest to the football field there was Chevrolet, which I'm guessing is the motor car dealership brand, find new roads. And let me just flick on another one here. And again, you'll see, again, some mindless phrase, some tagline that's that particular company is paying a fortune for. Can you imagine how stupid that is? Just the level of dickheaditis is amazing. I can guarantee you that not one of those 96,000 people at that game would have got their pen and paper out or got their iPhone out and taken down, Chevrolet, find new roads. I just love that tagline. Sweetheart, as I talk to my wife, because obviously I talk to my wife with that language all the time. Sweetheart, we have to buy a new Chevrolet on Monday because look, that says there, find new roads. Isn't that enlightening? Like, what were they thinking? Now, whatever they paid for that signage, and let me just bring it back up again, there you go. Whatever they paid for that is just about a complete and utter waste of money. I would bet you 100 lottery tickets that if you did an exit poll of just a few of the 96,000 people and said to them, could you just tell me what the signage was around the outside of that soccer game? Because that's what they're looking at, of course, aren't they? They wouldn't dare be looking for Messi playing for Argentina. They'd be looking at the signage because that's what we go to the soccer game for, of course. Crazy. I bet you that no one would tell you what was one of those signs, let alone, find new roads. I mean, please, what the hell is that all about? It's, I remember the client that I do show off about quite a bit. It happens to be the Greater Building Society, and it's the client who I convinced Jerry Seinfeld. Did I just drop a name? I should just pick that up again. Okay. Jerry Seinfeld to do their advertising for them. I was on the phone with Pope Francis actually before this. I won't go into that. That's another thing. But yeah, the bank that I got Jerry Seinfeld to do the advertising for them, before I came along with hopefully some common sense, direct response marketing, do you know their tagline was, wait for it, they're called the Greater Building Society, and their tagline before I got rid of it was, Sooner or later, it's the greater. What the hell is that all about? Can you imagine if you heard that little catchphrase on TV, or I think they had a nice little jingle, and I'm going to really scare you now by singing the jingle, sooner or later, it's the greater, or something like that. How many people out there in TV land or watching the Facebook ad would have gone, oh, we've got to get our home loan from them. That catch line is just so catchy. Sooner or later, it's the great. It rhymes. And so therefore, let's get $500,000 for our home loan out of it. Just crazy stuff. The stuff that I preach seriously is common sense on steroids. All you need to do is to make sure that whoever your target audience is, think about what their needs and wants are, provide them with their problem, give them the solution, and make sure that there is a measurable call to action. Got headache? Take Nurofen. Go to this website, and it's available for $9.95 a box. And if you use promo code Stop My Headache, we will give you a free, I don't know, beanie or free whatever, okay, as a bonus. And all of a sudden it's measurable. They've used a particular promo code. You know that it came from that particular advertising campaign. But I'm telling you, when the Chevrolet marketing manager opened up his office on Monday morning, and the boss said to him, oh, wow, we went to the Melbourne Cricket Ground on whatever night it was too, on Friday night, and we were there with 96,000 people. It was great to see our logo there, that and our catchphrase, find new roads. I mean, who was the genius that came up with that? How many more Chevrolet inquiries have we had this morning? And you will hear crickets in the background, because the marketing manager clearly suffers from not just dickheaditis, but moronitis, okay, which is even a scarier disease. Let me get further into bagging people out, because that's what I'm reasonably good at. I want to bring this slide up. And this happens to be little children playing rugby, okay? And so therefore, I don't have, where is it? But I think you can see, I'm putting my specs on to look at this, but you can see that there's a logo of a couple of people there on the jumpers of these kids. I can't see what they are, but the fact is that it's stupid, okay? It's stupid. Now, I'll leave the slide up, because I want you to consider here is that you are a parent of one of these children and you're on the sideline. Are you getting out your pen and a bit of paper, or getting out your iPhone and taking it down in your notes category of who the sponsors are of those little under 12s, rugby players? No, you aren't. I don't care whether it's the local hotel, it's a local real estate agent, butcher, baker, or candlestick maker. It's a complete and utter waste of money unless you have done a deal with the junior sports whereby you've got hold of the database of the parents. I don't think these kids will be making too many buying decisions at their age. And so therefore, if you can get the database of the parents of these children, then it may make sense to invest some money into sponsoring their jumpers, okay? Let me tell you a story about that. I'll bring the camera back to me, because this is a really interesting story, and as you know, I'm a really interesting person with a great degree of humility. When I was looking after the marketing for the Greater Building Society, I had the Northern New South Wales Cricket Association knock on my door, and I was a consultant, so I wasn't working for the Greater, but if I'd called into their office once every 10 days or so, then those who wanted to have a meeting with me would schedule for that time. And this guy walks in, he's from the Northern New South Wales Cricket Association, and he said, look, we've got 52,000 children, which means 52,000, mum and dads, playing cricket. And what we'd like to do is give the Greater Building Society the opportunity to become our major sponsor. I went, okay, yeah, fair enough. What do you want? He said, and I forget what the number was, let's say it was $50,000. We want $50,000 for sponsorship, and your logo would be on the back of their cricket shirts, okay? And I went, okay, look, we don't do 50,000s. And he went, oh, I said, no, we only do 100,000 sponsorship. So I would like to give you $100,000 sponsorship. Now you can imagine he didn't know I was taking the piss out of him, and his eyes just, grew to the size of saucepans and went, oh, I only asked for 50, but you want to give me 100,000? I said, absolutely. That's all we do here at the Greater Building Society. We only do $100,000 sponsorships. He went, wow, we'll take that. I said, yeah, look, not a problem. Just on a couple of conditions. And he goes, yeah, sure, anything. I said, well, can you tell me who the sponsor was for last year, and just give me his contact details, because I'd just like to speak to him about why he's not there this year. And he went, right, okay. And I said, the second thing is that all we'd like to do is to be able to get access to do 3 email blasts to the parents of those 52,000 kids, and text messaging blasts as well, throughout the year. So therefore, we would have the access to do 3 emails and 3 text message blasts throughout the year. And you could see that he was not going to be able to deliver that, because he then realised he was a moron. Because guess what? He hadn't collected their email addresses, nor had he collected the parents' mobile numbers. Nuts, okay? So can you imagine the opportunity that he missed out on? I said to him, mate, sorry, you're selling fresh air. Unless you can actually give us the contact details of the decision makers, who are the parents of those children playing cricket, then, you know, we'd just be pissing 50 grand up against the wall to put the Greater Building Society on the back of their shirts. I mean, at the time, we're one of the largest regional TV advertisers in the country, with Jerry Seinfeld as their spokesman. Do you really think we needed to build the brand? We had a big enough brand. You know, Coca-Cola, Ford Motor Cars, McDonald's, they don't need to build the brand, and nor did the Greater. Because while the Greater is not in the, you know, sort of levels of Coca-Cola or McDonald's, it was the largest TV advertiser in regional Australia, which meant country towns. And this was regional New South Wales. And I said, look, mate, I'm sorry, but you're, you know, pissing in the wind. You're not going to get $50,000 out of us. If you actually had given us access to all of those people, because you had their mobile number and you had their email address, we'd give you double that. But of course, he left with his tail between his legs. And you know what? I bet you, even though the marketing lesson I gave him, I think would have been, you know, very, very valuable, I bet you that, you know, that was some years back, I bet you that they've never collected that data ever since. It's just like when I talk to, you know, restaurant owners, and I say, look, doesn't it make sense that you collect the, you know, names and contact details of anyone who, you know, comes to your restaurant? They all nod knowingly. They go, yep, no, we should do that. And guess what? I reckon only 10% of them ever do it, because I'm yet to go into any of the restaurants or cafes where anyone collects anything. I mean, they all have that sad fishbowl with half a dozen business cards sitting at the cash register, and they think that's data collection. No, that's just dickheaditis, okay? Real data collection is making sure that you incentivize your wait staff, your waiters and waitresses, by saying, look, 50 cents for every name, email, and mobile number that you get, and they will make sure that they won't let anyone out of that restaurant or cafe before they get those details, because they're going to get 50 cents a time. In my experience, that's the quickest and most successful way of collecting data if you're in the hospitality sector. Now, let me show you another slide. I want to bring up another one here, and this happens to be someone who got it right. This is Chemist Warehouse, and they're a pretty aggressive marketer. And you're probably wondering what that is. It's actually the Gold Coast tram. You can see Jupiter's Casino in the background there. So it looks like a big fence, I know, but it's not. It's actually the tram. The tram has been a big success. The light rail project has been a big success on the Gold Coast in Australia. And you'll see there that, you know, they've thought this through, okay? So they're, you know, as you know, discounting is not my thing, but if your business, like Chemist Warehouse, is built on price discounting, then of course you can't help but market that. I mean, you know, I'm not silly. If your business is Kmart or your business is Chemist Warehouse, which is a discount chain, then of course it's not evil for them to discount, because their business is built on that. So you'll see here, they make it very clear that they discount scripts every day, and you'll see their discounted prescriptions, $5.90. They're making it very clear. The only thing that I probably would do in that instance, and I'll leave the slide up whilst I actually run through this, the only thing that I might possibly do there is, again, use some form of tracking. So therefore, whether it says, you know, whisper the word wow and you'll get a special bonus, or whether it gives you a unique promo code where if you go online, you get some sort of bonus if you use that promo code. In any way possible, without being ridiculous, but in every way possible, what I'm all about is, you know, making sure that your call to, well, first of all, you've got a call to action, but secondly, that you make it as measurable as you possibly can. And maybe the size of this business is such where they go, look, we just can't do that. Just from an operational point of view, if we used a promo code, we wouldn't have the back end to facilitate managing that. I don't know. But I'm sure as you're watching this and listening to what I'm saying, you can see the logic in being able to measure the success of each of your advertising communications. In fact, I'll bring the camera back to me for a second, because a classic case of this was when I did get involved in the very first instance with the Greater Building Society. I had the advertising agency come in and ask them to justify the expenditure on certain things, the back of taxi ads, the sides of buses, outdoor billboards, and all of those things which really I'm pretty skeptical about the value of. And they said, oh, the outdoor billboards, which they had on just about every major road in Newcastle, which was where they had the majority of their branches. And it just had, sooner or later, it's the grader, had a picture of a happy husband and their wife and maybe a couple of children, and had a house in the background. It said, sooner or later, it's the grader. And then I think it just said the place to go for home loans or something like that. It was just nonsensical. And I knew that it wouldn't have any benefit to the Greater Building Society, but they were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on this rubbish. And I said to the advertising agency, why are you doing this? And they said, well, we're getting our brand out there and we're selling home loans. And I said, yeah, but where's the measurability? There's no promo code on there. There's no individual phone number. There's no individual URL to track what we're getting from the outdoor billboards compared to what we're doing on TV or radio or somewhere else. And they went, right, so what are you getting at? I said, I'll tell you what we're getting at. Because you think that outdoor billboards work, and I think they don't, why don't we actually put it to the test? Why don't we, in all of those billboards, put a particular phone number? So the Greater Building Society's main number was 131386, I think it was. So let's go, 131324, whatever it might be, and we put that phone number and a particular URL, web page address, on these billboards. And so therefore, if they're working, then people will have taken note of that number, and that's the number they would have rung, or they would have gone to that web page. Reluctantly, they went along with this. Guess what? I think you can guess what happened. Not one phone call and not one visitation to the web page. We're talking like a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars with these damn billboards out there being spent throughout the year. But when we put measurability against them, a particular or peculiar phone number for that, for those billboards, which the phone number was only ever put on the billboards. It was never used on Facebook. It was never used on radio or TV. It was just the billboard phone number. Let's call it 131324 for argument's sake, instead of 131386, which is the main number. Not one single phone call. Oh, they had one. It was me, just to test that the phone actually worked, okay? And to the web page, which we set up, not one visit. Not one visit. So therefore, it showed that up until when I knocked some common sense into the Greater Building Society management, they were pissing up against the wall hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of money and on something that wasn't working. So the whole thread of what I'm getting at here is make sure problem, provide the solution, and then provide a call to action with measurability. Make sure that every single thing you do is measurable. I want to show you one now that I actually give some credit to, and not surprisingly, McDonald's are a pretty good, savvy marketer. You'll see here wild berry fruit smoothies, and I think they've done very well the way that they put that on. You'll see it's now in season at McDonald's. The only thing that I would probably add to that, and this is very unusual, isn't it, for me to be complimentary to someone, but the only thing I would probably add to that would be someone enjoying that smoothie. So therefore, maybe on the right-hand corner of that advertisement, I would probably have someone in the age group who they think would be enjoying smoothies, and I don't know what that age group would be, whether it's 20s to 35s or, whether it's the cool, wicked, sick age group, I don't know, but I would probably show a couple or maybe one person enjoying the smoothie. Let me just show you another photo, and this is woeful, woeful, woeful. So I'm just giving a big, pat on the back to McDonald's. Look at these. Like, this is just ridiculous, okay? So this is a chain. This is a franchise chain. So I'm assuming that whoever owns this has paid the franchisor to actually make their business look like a bag of crap. Okay, so Thirsty Camel, and I'm not blaming Thirsty Camel necessarily for not having those white signs with something in them. That's probably the franchisee, but my goodness, just even the ambience that the franchisor has provided to that franchise group, is just awful. I mean, does that look like the bottom of the food chain? I mean, that's just awful. Look at those colours, for God's sake. And but what makes it worse, of course, is that they've got spaces there for, I would guess, the deals of the week or whatever it may be. We've got no deals of the week. What we thought we'd do is just leave a shopping trolley from Woolworths, which is down the road from us, just outside our shop to make it even look worse. Just dear, oh dear, oh dear. Okay. And this one here I'll give credit to. This is McDonald's, and again, they're getting a pat on the back from me because there's no question that as you drive past that, you feel like one of those. They've done very, very well there. You can see the ambience of the whole thing is very coffee. And so therefore they've got the browns, they've got the tans, they've got the steam coming out of the coffee. There's no way that you would look at that without thinking to yourself, well, you know, gosh, I feel like one of those. And this particular sign would be positioned, because I don't know for sure, I'm guessing this, but it would be positioned probably a few kilometres or a few miles away from the next McDonald's off the freeway. I just think they've done a great job there, and that's what it's all about. Okie dokie. I think I'll wrap it up there, because the thing is that I think I've got the message across to you. 5 steps, okay? Well, sorry, 5 steps in the direct response world, and that is, number 1, highlight their problem. Number 2, aggravate the problem, okay? Just tell them what's going to happen if they don't do something about it. Number 3, provide them with the solution. And if you're Nurofen, then that's going to be a solution to their headache, okay? The headache will be gone in 10 minutes. Number 4, and that is provide proof, and that's normally a testimonial, someone who has used your product or service and raves about it. And then number 5, a very clear call to action, and that is phone this number or go to this website. Pretty simple. Problem, solution, marketing, and of course everything you do should have measurability against it. So if you're going to have a call to action, make sure it's a phone number or it's an invitation to go to a particular web page, and make sure it's very, very clear. Hopefully that's given you the opportunity to think about that for your product or service, and in the future you won't do things like sponsoring the local little netball team or football team with your logo on the back of the jersey. Gosh, I nearly forgot to tell you about my webinar. If you enjoyed this, then you might like to watch my webinar, which concentrates on showing you how to attract avalanche leads to your business. Now, that's either to your website or to your landing page or to your bricks and mortar business. I've been in the game of attracting leads for company owners for many, many years. And so I've put together a formula, and that formula I've called the Avalanche Leads Formula. And what I've done in this webinar, which goes for just over an hour, is that I provide you with that formula, that system, okay? So therefore you'll be able to just swipe it and use it in your business. So if you enjoyed what you saw here, then you might like to straight away go to wowmysales.com, and you can watch the webinar straight away. It's not one of those where you give your details and then we annoy you with 1,000 emails over the next 24 hours. You can watch it straight away. So therefore, when you go to wowmysales.com, you can just watch that webinar immediately on demand, no waiting, and you can scoop up more of this stuff that you can use in your business. Now, why am I doing this? Because I figured that if I actually provide these free pieces of advice to you, then when you need help in the future to attract clients to your business, you might like to knock on our door and we can give you a hand. It's called sampling. That's what this is all about. So hopefully you will enjoy it. And at some time when you do need some help, well, you know where we are. So if you'd like to go right now, you can watch it straight away to wowmysales.com. It'll have a particular emphasis on online marketing and a particular emphasis showing you how to master Facebook ads. I show you a formula which I've called the 2-step sell formula, and it has worked over and over and over again for many of my clients. So if you're interested in making your Facebook ads work, then you might like to get there straight away and have a look at this. It's at wowmysales.com. It's a free webinar and you can watch it straight away.